Welcome back to Strictly Casual. My name is Vincent DeSantis. I'm joined by Ryder Maldonado, and our special guest today has had appearances in shows like This Is Us, Shameless, and starred the lead role in the Emmy Award-winning comedy Short in Passing. You can see her in the latest original film from Amazon Prime, Being the Ricardos, out now. Please welcome Miss Dana Lynn Barron. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm very delighted to be here.
Thank you. We're glad to have you here. Let's jump right in. So, by the age of 12, you joined the stage with the San Francisco Ballet, and at age 16, you made your professional musical theater debut at the San Diego Civic Light Opera as a diva tapper in a hit production of 42nd Street. So, we want to ask, what about theater, dancing, and that original spark would you say is with you today?
Oh, so much. Honestly, my body doesn't permit me to do some of the things I did as a dancer when I was younger.
Mm,
I still do dance, thankfully, less so during the pandemic. Soon we'll get past that.
Yeah.
Dancing still, it feeds my acting so much. I don't know how to describe it except that uh, when you dance, you're obviously doing something with your body, and great dancers, at least, great dancers have amazing technique. They can do the spins and the kicks and all that. But I'm frankly really bored with dancers who may be able to do all that technical stuff, but aren't capable of telling a story.
mm, mhm.
And so I was always drawn, and not just dancers, but singers as well. You can have a fabulous voice, but like nothing going on. I just didn't care. And that started really young. I started to notice my response to that. And so when I danced, I have always had, just because of my own personal structure, like I was never one of those dancers who could kick their leg totally behind their head or
Yeah.
any of that. I have some limitations, but my greatest teachers and the greatest choreographers always encouraged me to use what I've got. So even if your leg went hip high, you
Yeah.
reach and the lines you create. Pardon me, I from an early age was encouraged to tell a story with your body, with the choreography. Be authentic, be present in the moment using the music. And I'll
Mm,
tell you, when every role I approach, I create a soundtrack for every character I play.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I use music. I All I can say is when I drop into my dancer self is when I do my best acting, because I'm connected to my body, which I've always used to tell story.
Yeah.
So dance is very much with me. I wish I'm like, how did I do that? I used to dance for like 6 hours a day. Like, what
Mhm.
happened? Where is that girl who was doing all that? I mean, I eventually, I was an athlete in the
Mhm.
beginning of it all until my
Yeah.
mom said, "Hey," when I was 12, "you're going to dance class." And I was really upset about it until I went and really took to it very quickly. But I happen, because I grew up in San Diego, I happened to be around some
Yeah.
young dancers who were already going to LA to do commercials and TV shows, including, although he's younger than me, the Mario Lopez was down there,
Hmm.
and Taryn Manning, two great performers, actors, dancers, singer,
Mhm.
all the
Yeah.
things. So I had that spark, but I didn't know what acting was in any sense. It was more of that initial feeling of, I want to do that. I want to be in the television like they are. I didn't
Yeah.
know what it meant. And I
Yeah.
certainly didn't have, I wasn't good. You know how some young actors, teenagers or younger, like when kids are good actors, it blows my mind. But
Right.
Mm.
God bless them. I wish I was like that. My niece is like this. No, she's 12 now. Oh my God. Um, but she's performing down in San Diego, and she's from a young age had this belief in herself. She falls into her imagination without judgment. And I
Yeah.
wish I didn't have that when I was younger. And so it's taken a long time, a long curvy road. But yeah, I
Right.
through dance
Mm.
fell into musicals quite unexpectedly. I was a dancer who could sing, did musicals, but then slowly, by college, I was like, I like acting. I think I do. I don't know. It's a hobby though.
Yeah.
I grew up in a family that's non-show business. Why would I
Hmm.
think that acting was a career I could actually follow? So anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
the
Absolutely.
So
roots.
your transition into like theater to doing film, like in front of a camera, how is that different? And like what was the key in making that transition?
My gosh, such a long road with
Mhm.
to answer that question.
Yeah.
The beginnings, it's been a slow unfolding. I don't know what else
Right.
to say. I feel like, in a sense, a late bloomer, but I've been preparing for this moment where I'm at now for
Yeah.
all this time. And I'm not done, obviously. I mean,
Yeah.
there's been a continual evolution, but after a few key things happened, not to get all woo woo, but there was something. I've always felt very connected to other time periods.
Sure.
And so, of course, the musicals I did were all like the 20s, 30s, 40s, those eras I felt very at home in.
Yeah.
So there was that. But I also, even though I was doing musicals and doing theater, I I always was drawn to film, like as if, I don't know, the old movie stars from a young age. I've started becoming familiar with, Greta Garbo and Marlene Dietrich and
Mhm.
these these people from this period of time, and I felt like I belonged there, but I didn't know what any of it meant. So I moved to New York after college, to do musical theater, presumably.
Yeah.
But I ended up doing a bunch of uh, mostly not so great little plays in the black box theaters around New York, like just
Nice. Mhm.
flailing about, which is what you can do in New York. It's
Mhm.
totally
Yeah.
cool. Um, and from I did a Sam Shepard one act in a small black box theater, which led me to there was a young indie filmmaker who was in the audience, and he cast it like almost all of us, I think, from that. There were we
Wow.
It was
Yeah.
like an evening of one acts, a Sam Shepard one acts, I think. Yeah, I think they were all Sam Shepard. But he's like, I'm making a feature film. Let's go make it. Like,
That's
Oh,
so
oh my
nice.
cool.
God. And we all went up the Hudson to, I think, was it called Croton on the Hudson? I don't know. There's so many cities up the Hudson River.
Yeah.
You know how it is. Towns,
Mhm.
what townships, whatever they're called. Um, we went up. We stayed at his parents' house in this beautiful place, just upstate New York. Shot this film. It felt like summer camp.
Yeah.
And I played this messed up character, the sister of the lead. And I didn't know what I was doing, by the way. I really didn't. I
Yeah.
wasn't a good actor yet, but I loved being part of the fart, being part of the film, being
Yeah.
part of the film
Mhm.
process.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That initial being part of the film process and being on a set, and it's like I was a kid in a candy store, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I like this. And we worked long hours. I didn't care. I
Right.
didn't care about any of that. I just loved it. And I wanted more of it and didn't know how I was
Yeah.
going to get it. Because also, FYI, I'll just say, before I left for college and even during college, like if you would line me up with all the other dancers, the young dancers, you would not have picked me out of the lineup to be the one who's still standing, to be
Mm.
honest. I was awkward in all the uncomfortable wrong ways. Honestly, my outsides didn't match up with my insides. Yeah, I was just no one knew what to do with me, like casting wise.
Mm.
No one knew, and I didn't know. I didn't have
Mhm.
any belief in myself at that juncture, but I don't know what compelled me to keep going. I think I'm stubborn.
Yeah.
Um but so after that film, I did what actors do, especially when we're starting out. There were resources. Gosh, at that time there were still the print version of Dramalog and
Yeah.
Backstage, and
Yeah.
you keep looking for, oh, where's the short film I can do? I befriended, because it was New York, especially, it was quite easy to. I met filmmakers,
Yeah.
students from like NYU and Columbia, so I did a
Mhm.
lot of short films, and I
Mhm.
kept doing theater. I sort of fell out of love with I stepped away from musicals completely, to be honest. And if I'm being frank, because it was tough.
Yeah.
I would go to I'm a member of Actors Equity, and so I was going to those auditions at Equity and lining up. At the time, the system's changed since, but you had to line up at 5:30 in the morning to audition for Beauty and the Beast. And
Oh,
the
wow.
doors would maybe open like at 8 or 8:30, so you can sign up for your appointment, but
Oh,
you were in line in the snow at 5:30 in the
Oh,
morning.
right.
jeez. Wow.
And then I
Mm.
would look around the waiting room at Equity, and I looked at myself and I looked at the girls in the flowery dresses, and and this is a gross generalization at this point, because I just didn't know myself or
Yeah.
Mhm.
believe in myself, or I didn't know where I fit. But what I did feel like looking around, and I struggled for a lot of my life, although recent years, 30 and up, it's only gotten better. But, I struggled with my body and weight
Sure.
issues and whatnot. So I felt heavier than like the little skinny chorus girls. Like I wasn't that. I
Mm.
wasn't that. And so I got tired and frustrated pretty quickly as far as musicals went, unfortunately, because
Mm.
but I'm coming back around to that now, even like
Oh, yeah?
singing more and inviting. I love the idea of being in a film where I get to sing and dance in some way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would love for that to happen at this point, but and we'll see. But
Mhm.
I wasn't destined to have a musical theater life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your original question? But the transit we were talking about the
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
transition. Yeah, I mean, so New York City in the 90s, running around with the very indie film crowd, just making stuff. And then
Oh, yeah.
I started working I think I worked the first festival I worked for was the Gotham Film Market. Like getting
Mhm.
involved in that
Yeah.
way was a big part of my transition into the film world, just
Sure.
being an on-camera actor, being there, networking for the first time and getting comfortable talking to people. Gotham led to a referral to Sundance, where I worked for 3 years.
Wow. Yeah.
Another great place, I'm sure it's been printed many places like at Sundance, everyone's wearing their mittens and their jackets. So
Yep.
it's like, I don't care
Yeah.
if you're the head of the studio, I'll talk to you like
Mhm.
we're normal people.
Yeah.
So it was great training ground just for the relationship aspects of this business.
Mhm.
It's
Because
huge.
it is a show business,
Yeah.
show business.
Mhm.
And so you're planting seeds all the time of relationships that may or may not lead to collaborations. I mean, who knows? You just
Right.
don't know.
Absolutely.
And you don't know tomorrow's assistant is or today's assistant is your tomorrow's boss or tomorrow's
Yeah. Mhm.
partner in a project. Who knows?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So here we are.
So talking about kind of the musical aspect again, you said that you've
Yeah.
made musical playlists for the characters that you do in your roles. What would you
Yeah.
say is the kind of first steps that you research or approach when you get a role?
Well, first, I mean, that depends, of course. I generally start to look at the relationships in the story
Mhm.
first.
Hmm.
I also acknowledge, oh, am I doing a comedy or a drama? So that
Yeah.
informs things
Sure.
too.
Important.
Who am I? What's my, and this takes, by the way, and this is how I work. I will read and reread and reread and reread a script. And just in the rereading, things start like, I don't know why, start clicking, start occurring to me. Things, on the first read that didn't occur to me. Maybe on the third read, I'm like, oh, like revelations kind of come up along the
Yeah.
way. But of course, to me, well, story is important first.
Mhm.
Story.
Yeah.
What is the story? And because I have to tell that story, I can't be off on a tangent doing my own
Right.
thing. So what's the story? Who are the people I'm dealing with? What's my point of view about them? What's their point of view about me? And I don't know how to describe that, but with regarding the music that comes up, it just that sort of comes just within the process. Like certain songs will appear
Hmm.
come to my consciousness. But I will say, like, I have a tendency to enjoy playing kind of mucked up people with
Mhm.
problems. And
Sure.
like I swear, since the 90s, my go-to playlist is Nine Inch Nails. Because it's like, well, because it hits, and
Yeah.
I'm very sensitive to music. So I can put on, I mean, I put on, there was I forget which one, Beethoven piece it was like the tones of the music just kind of like it literally plucks my heart. That's what
Yeah.
it feels like,
Absolutely.
and I just started bawl like
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
little what seems like the littlest thing to someone else, like heck, it can make me break down in
Yeah.
tears.
Right.
So music, it's frequency. If anyone out there is
Mhm.
musical at all or deals with music is sound and sound is frequency, vibration, and we are too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I envision like a big standing bass, these strings, these long strings. And so you can feel it when music it can hit you. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
sensitive and
Absolutely.
stop for
Mm.
a moment, you feel it. I mean, yeah, I'd be suspicious of you as a person if you didn't feel anything,
Mhm.
Right.
sociopath. But
Yep.
Uh-huh.
yeah, so Nine Inch Nails has been a long time go to for characters I've played who are in a darker space. My most recent role in being the Ricardos. Now, took place in the movie takes place in 1952 with some
Yeah.
flashbacks back, but my character's in 1952. But as I was preparing, it occurred to me, I looked at the popular music of the day. Like
Mhm.
I'll do that too. Like
Yeah.
I'll look at, if it's a period piece, especially, what's the music of the day, and see if that inspires something. And
Yeah.
there's some good stuff, but then I realized, well, 1952 isn't all that far off from the 40s, and it's definitely not that far off from World War II. And
Yeah.
it just had me feeling what I might have been feeling about at that time. And I listened to Desi Arnaz's music,
Mhm.
of course,
Yep.
which is great. But my character, Miss Rose, and I settled on, well, of course. I mean, and Desi's included in this, but big band music, of course.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
Glenn Miller,
Uh-huh.
Oh.
not Neil Armstrong.
I personally love Count
Oh my
Basie for
God.
me. big
Yeah,
fan.
yeah, Count
Yes.
Basie and not Neil Armstrong. Jeez, oh my God, Nat King Cole. Why
Oh,
there we
why
go.
did I say Neil
Yeah, yeah.
Armstrong? That is so weird. Because anyway, don't mind me.
No, that's awesome. So Being the Ricardos is now an award-winning film. Like it won at the
Yeah.
Golden Globes. It's being nominated
Yeah.
like every week here. We're seeing
Yeah, it's
different
great.
awards. And that's your latest project you've been a part of. Can you tell us a little bit like about your experience? Just, I mean, even being on set here, or just any
Yeah.
cool tidbits you have from
Oh
this.
my lordy. Well, first of all, what a dream job.
Totally.
I don't know any smart actor. Sorry, I'll say it. I don't know any actor who doesn't want to work with Aaron Sorkin, for starters. And
Yeah.
what blows me away about this whole thing is getting to work with him, and I
Right.
certainly hope it's not the last time.
Mhm.
But also, what just blows me away is that I had never auditioned for him before.
Yeah.
And to me, I know I've had the experience of, I go in a few times for the same show or the same director or the same casting office until I finally, until you book
Yeah.
something.
Right.
And that's fine. I love, when I get called in by the same people, because
Yeah.
I know they're fans of the work, and it's just
Yeah.
about timing and alignment. But
Mhm.
and this is COVID times, right? So last late January, I think it was, or early February, I did my audition, which was a self-tape.
Sure.
And then 3 weeks later, after much distress, because I'm like, why am I not getting a call
Yeah.
back? I don't usually worry about those things because you'll drive
Mhm.
yourself crazy,
Mhm.
obviously.
Absolutely.
But I felt so good about what I'd done, and just this project felt so right.
Yeah.
So 3 weeks later, I was offered the role, which
It's so cool.
no call. I was like, what? No call. That tripped me out the most. That,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
doesn't Aaron have notes? Does he want to redirect me or anything?
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so this is happening. I'm not the only one. I have friends I've heard about people, they test on Zoom for a TV show and get cast in a series.
Right.
That never happened before. Anyway, so I digress. This was so I got to spend about a month with them, all said, but it was like days here, days there over the course of a month. And it was just, well, first of all, as I said earlier about my New York experience being like a kid in a candy store when I'm on set, when I walked on to the I Love Lucy set the first time, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. And then you have the
It's-
clothes and the shoes, like you can't help but like, I'm
Amazing.
there. I'm there,
Right.
like a kid, like my
Yeah.
little niece who like has no problem at that age. Like she goes right
Mm.
into the imagination of, we get to play. I'm here. Like I'm really,
It's
you just
powerful.
felt like, and I've heard Javier and Nicole, and I think J.K. Simmons and all the
Right.
cast members
Mhm.
just talking about that you couldn't help but just, you're in 1952,
Mhm.
and so being in that environment was incredible. Aaron was wonderful. Like I knew,
That's awesome.
I've been a fan of his writing for so many years now. And I didn't know, I had read about like what he's like as a director. I
Yeah.
guess I somehow missed those interviews, but he's fantastic. I mean, an actor's director. He's so s- sensitive. I'll say sensitive, but he's sensitive
Yeah.
to the actors. He really is a fan of the actors, and he has faith in the actors. Whether it's Javier and Nicole or
Mhm.
me, again, no notes on my audition, and then I show
Yeah.
up on set and we do the first scene. My first scene was one where I come running in. The first scene that we shot, not my
Mhm.
first scene in the film. The first scene I shoot is with Javier and Tony Hale and Alia Shawkat
Yep.
and Jake Lacey, and like, hey, Dana, go.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. I'm going to make you feel better now, and I'm going to do my job. I didn't worry I didn't worry at all, actually, but it does cross your mind. Like, these people don't know me at all.
Right.
I have proof that of all these people in front of me, like how good they are and what they've done over the years. They don't know me. So you just kind of dive in. But Aaron he creates a environment of high morale and really a support system. And I'll be damned, unless it was a complicated, walk and talk scene or lots of people and you had to choreograph various moves.
Yeah.
I was shocked how fast he worked.
Really?
1 or 2 takes on like the tighter shots and whatnot. And if like Nicole or Javier or Tony, I didn't work with Nina, Arianda, and JK, but if anyone wanted another take, he'd give it to them. But I think Nicole, I read recently, said, or maybe it was either Nicole or Javier, that even when, yes, Aaron would say, sure, you got another one, she said almost always those weren't the takes that ended up
Wow.
in the film. But he still gave it to them, which is was lovely. And I just think, he started as an actor originally. That was his intention. He's a total musical theater geek, singing Gilbert and Sullivan between takes. But he's just lovely, and that was so nice. It was a really great place to spend my time. And then I was in a couple scenes with Nicole, but Miss Rosen and Lucy never interact directly. But I learned so much from just watching both of them, and Javier working with him was a dream. I had heard this, we're so American audiences mostly were familiar with him, playing villains and things.
Yeah.
I started watching him. I saw whatever, I can't remember which was first, See Inside or, oh my gosh, what was the other one? Beyond? No, I'm blanking. His early stuff, like the 90s was when I first became familiar with his work through his Spanish films and Beautiful and Before Night Falls. That's the one.
Before Night Falls, I think. I've heard of that.
And I can't remember the order. And if you haven't seen them, you should. Yeah, Before Night Falls. See Inside and Beautiful were earlier things I'd seen, but I knew what a strong actor he was. I was kind of afraid, but luckily I had a little intel before that. He's just the nicest, kindest, most generous, gentle, open soul.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I felt like I was flying when we were working together.
It's a great atmosphere to have too on set and everything.
Yeah. Oh, he's so good. He's just there with you, present.
Yeah. That's great to hear.
Present.
So switching gears here now, we here at Strictly Casual, we love video games just as much as we do movies. So we'd love to hear your experience doing voiceover work for the iconic Sonya Blade in Mortal Kombat from 2011.
Yeah, I got to do 2 games. That was the last one. I had done DC Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe. That was my first. That was when it was Midway Games, and then with Warner Brothers Interactive, did Mortal Kombat. Was it 10? Oh, I can't remember, or 9. It might have been. I don't know. But it's amazing to me because I know Ronda Rousey just played her, and there's a line, and so my name appeared in some articles, which was really funny and fun. But like the women who've played Sonya Blade, I feel like, oh my God, I feel so honored that I'm with, because I took over. Carrie Walgren did her for a while before me. I don't know if you know her name. She's like a major animation and video game actress. So Carrie Walgren, and then after me was Trisha Helfer?
Okay.
From Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then, Jerry Ryan was, of course, the live action version. But yeah, Sonya, it feels like, that was so long ago, but that was fun. When I first started my voiceover career, it's funny how you just never know. Like, I have friends who've they've hit it in animation and had these huge animation careers, which is what I still want. But my career, I've had all these commercials and this stuff, and my friends in animation go, I wish I could book commercials. So my career started off though with a bunch of video games. I did World of Warcraft as well.
Yep.
A couple of those, and some other, what was it? I did Skylanders. That was a few years back. I did a few characters for that. Video games are fun. I will admit I'm not as big a fan of all the screaming and yelling voice actors have to do.
Sure. Yeah.
I
It's a
like
lot.
the acting part though. So it's fun. Yeah, I Sonya Blade was great because I knew she was such an iconic character, and I'll admit I'm not a gamer, but
Mhm.
I appreciate, I mean, the good ones, they're telling stories,
Yep.
and it was just fun. So with video games, I approach it like anything else. Who am I? What's my world that I'm in? What's the
Yeah.
story here? If I'm talking to, was it Jax or whoever?
Yeah.
Like, tell the truth. Like I'm big on truth. I don't like, I feel it when I'm BSing and I'm like, ugh, that's gross. Okay. What have I not
Yeah.
grounded myself in? What have I not made real for myself? I
Yeah.
try and, make connections. Cause also, of course, in voiceover, more often than not, unless you're, there's some animated shows where they do the group reads, but more
Right.
often than not, you're by yourself, just doing like 1,000 lines by yourself. And the director, who hopefully is good, is saying, okay, here you're really angry, or here
Mhm.
you've just almost been killed.
Yeah.
It's trippy, but fun. I mean, I'm so great. Voiceover became my day job completely in 2005, which helped me just keep going.
Right.
And also, I could do, theater around town, but
Yeah.
voiceover has been wonderful, a wonderful gift in my life. And so I've had various waves of it, and
Yeah.
we'll see what's next with that. But
That's awesome. That's so exciting too,
Yeah.
that
yeah.
I mean, you're not just so focused on just doing film or just doing this. It's like you have the skills for all of these things, and you're enjoying doing
Yeah.
all these things too, which is
Yeah.
super exciting. I
Yeah.
love that.
I do love it.
So we have one more last little fun question before we wrap
Sure.
the interview up. If you could have any scene opposite any actor previously passed or alive, who would it be?
Difficult one, I know.
It's a tough one, but it's a fun one.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. Well, oh, that's so hard. But I guess I'll pick. Ugh, God, that's so hard. Um, I okay. There are many
Of course.
Yeah.
choices here, of course, but an actor I've admired for quite some time now. I haven't seen him live on stage, but I've seen via National Theater Live, seen his stage work that way, and then all his films. I love not only just the power and grace he brings to every role I see him in, but I love because again, I talked about as a dancer, how the
Mhm.
physicality that I bring to a role means so much. And I love to use my body in the role.
Yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch does that for
Oh,
me.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I'd love to go toe to toe with him.
Mhm.
Yeah. That is a great answer.
Great answer.
Do a
Yeah.
little boxing
love
match.
Absolutely.
Well, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to share your stories and experiences with us. It really means a lot that you're able to come on our show. It's so cool to talk to you. And I have tons more questions, but we'll have to schedule another one soon.
Part two.
A part
Thank
two
you guys
eventually.
so much. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was an honor to have you, and yeah, thank you. Thank you again for
Thank
coming on
you.
and your time.
Thank you.
Be sure to check out Dana on all her social media down below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.